Have you ever wondered what truly creates an irresistible attraction in a man? Why are there some men who, without any loud display, make others feel completely safe and secure? And is there a deeper secret behind the trust women instinctively place in them? Let's uncover one of the most overlooked yet deeply magnetic qualities in relationships: integrity, backed by a clear purpose. When people hear the word integrity, they often picture someone who simply follows the rules, doing the right thing even when no one's watching. Yes, that's part of it, but true integrity goes much deeper. It's not just about morality or compliance, it's an inner harmony where a man's thoughts, words, and actions align perfectly. And this alignment creates something incredibly rare today: trust. Women don't just respect men with integrity, they feel it instinctively. Why? Because a man who is internally consistent makes others feel safe, not in a patronizing, protective way, but emotionally and psychologically secure. You don't have to guess where he stands. He's not swayed by every breeze, not warm one moment and distant the next. His words are backed by actions, and his presence carries weight, not because he's loud, but because he's solid and steady. Now, when you combine that integrity with a clear purpose, you get something truly powerful. This man isn't just grounded, he knows where he's going. Purpose gives structure, it channels his energy, time, and attention. Women can sense when a man is deeply rooted in something bigger than himself. It doesn't have to be a grand mission to save the world. It could be building a business, mentoring others, being an exceptional father, or creating art. What matters is that it's real and pursued with intention. A man with purpose doesn't chase validation, he creates it. He isn't caught up in superficial power games or trying to impress. His life speaks for itself. In a world full of noise and posturing, that quiet certainty stands out as something rare and trustworthy. From a psychological perspective, women are biologically and emotionally wired to assess stability. It's not just about financial or physical security, though those can play a part. It's about psychological stability. Women respect a man whose presence brings clarity, not confusion, a man who not only knows what he wants, but lives in alignment with it. This consistency is not just attractive, it's deeply reassuring, especially in an era where many wear masks and trade character for charm. A man who stands firmly in his truth becomes rare and therefore invaluable. He doesn't need to dominate others to feel strong. Instead, he seeks control over himself. And that's what makes him a true leader, even without asking for the title. That's why women look up to him with respect and admiration. So, how exactly does a man build this kind of integrity and purpose in his life? Let's dive deeper into that in the next part. Continuing from what we discussed about the power of integrity and clear purpose, let's dive deeper into how a man earns respect, not through fear or dependence, but through genuine respect. He's not trying to impress anyone, he simply is who he is. This doesn't mean he's perfect. In fact, his imperfections add to the respect he commands because he owns them fully. He doesn't pretend or shift blame when things go wrong. Instead, he takes responsibility, learns from his mistakes, adjusts, and keeps moving forward. And let me tell you, that kind of honesty hits differently. It slices through all the nonsense and naturally creates intimacy without even trying. Women aren't necessarily looking for men who have all the answers. They're drawn to those who ask the right questions and live in pursuit of something meaningful. That pursuit is what truly shapes a man. It deepens him, directing his energy with purpose. Through that lens, women don't just see ambition, they see leadership, potential, someone capable of building not just a life, but a future. And maybe the most profound part is this: purpose gives a man vision, and vision is contagious. When a woman meets a man who knows where he's going, who's building himself from the inside out, she's invited to trust not just him, but what they could create together. That's what earns respect. That's what inspires loyalty. So if you're wondering which men women respect most, it's not the loudest guy in the room. It's not the one with the flashiest lifestyle or the smoothest words. It's the man who lives his truth quietly yet powerfully. The man who moves with clarity, acts with intention, and shows up as the same person day after day. Integrity isn't just admirable, it's magnetic. And purpose isn't just personal, it's relational. A man who embodies both doesn't need to ask for respect. He simply lives it, and that presence is unforgettable. Now, let's unpack an important aspect of strength. For a long time, strength in men has been portrayed as this one dimensional image: stoic, unshakable, unemotional. But let's be honest, that version of masculinity is not only outdated, it's unsustainable. Women, especially emotionally mature women, see right through it. The men women truly respect aren't those who pretend they don't feel. They're the ones who feel deeply but remain grounded. It's not about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. So, what does emotional strength actually look like? A man with emotional strength isn't ruled by his feelings, but he's not afraid of them either. He doesn't shut down when things get tough. He doesn't deflect vulnerability with jokes, anger, or silence. Instead, he faces himself head on. He's aware of what's happening inside and is willing to confront it. And that's just the beginning of our journey into true masculine strength. Next, we'll explore how this emotional strength shapes the way he builds lasting relationships. Building on what we've discussed about emotional strength and self mastery, let's explore why self awareness creates lasting stability in relationships. This deep self awareness is truly powerful because it means you're not walking on eggshells around him. You never have to guess whether he'll withdraw, explode, or disappear. When you're with someone who has internal control, that's the kind of strength that endures. Here's the key: emotional strength is not weakness in disguise. It doesn't make a man soft, it makes him formidable, because it takes far more courage to open up than to shut down. Being emotionally honest, especially when it exposes something raw and imperfect, is exactly what builds respect. When a man is emotionally truthful but still grounded, it shows maturity. It shows he's done the hard work on himself. Psychologically, women are incredibly intuitive. Whether they realize it or not, they constantly read emotional cues. So when a man is emotionally stuck or reactive, it signals something deeper: instability. It creates an internal dissonance. He might say one thing, but his tone, body language, and energy tell a different story. That inconsistency breaks trust, not because he's lying, but because he hasn't mastered himself. On the other hand, a man with emotional strength brings clarity. His presence calms the room, not through force, but through regulation. He can express himself without exploding, disagree without disrespecting, and feel deeply without losing his center. This isn't just attractive, it's deeply reassuring. It tells a woman, this is a man who can carry the weight of life without dropping those around him. Life will test you with uncertainty, failure, and disappointment. What women notice most is how you respond to these tests. Do you crumble? Do you lash out? Or do you feel it, face it, and keep moving forward? Emotional strength isn't about never breaking, it's about how you rebuild. That resilience and composure send a powerful message. I've been through the fire, and I'm still standing. You are safe here. And safety, especially emotional safety, not just physical, is what earns deep respect. Now, it's important to clarify: emotional strength doesn't mean oversharing every feeling with everyone. It means knowing when and with whom to open up. It means being intentional. A man who understands his emotional landscape doesn't burden others with it, he manages it. That's the difference between dumping emotions and sharing them thoughtfully. And that's why women deeply respect emotionally intelligent men. Next, we'll dive even deeper into how emotional intelligence shapes the way a man builds and maintains lasting, meaningful relationships. Building on our understanding of emotional strength and self mastery, let's delve deeper into how a truly strong man owns his inner world and invites connection from a place of balance. A strong man is not defined by the absence of emotion, but by how he commands his inner world and fosters connection through equilibrium. Philosophically, this is about integration. Masculine energy isn't the absence of feelings, it's the container that holds them. A grounded man creates space for his own emotions without being overwhelmed by them. He can sit with grief, anger, or fear without allowing those feelings to define who he is. That kind of presence gives others permission to be authentic as well. It sets the emotional tone for the relationship, and women sense this immediately. The truth is, women don't want a robot. They want a man who stands like a mountain in the storm, someone who can feel the tempest but doesn't crumble under it, a man who can hold space for her without needing to dominate it, someone who remains clear, calm, and kind even when life gets tough. Because at the end of the day, emotional strength isn't about appearing tough, it's about being deeply rooted. A man who is rooted in himself cannot be shaken by the world. That's the man women respect, not because he's invulnerable, but because he is real and unshaken. This kind of strength speaks far louder than any showy performance ever could. There's a quiet power that doesn't announce itself, but when it enters a room, you feel it. It's not loud or demanding attention, and it doesn't dominate conversations, yet it shifts the energy completely. This is the kind of presence that commands respect, not by force, but by essence. There is a profound difference between demanding respect and embodying it. A man who demands respect is often compensating for something, trying to impose authority from the outside in. But lasting respect, the kind that truly matters, flows only from the inside out. You don't need to raise your voice or puff out your chest. When who you are aligns with truth, discipline, and self respect, others, especially women, feel it. Here's the truth: women watch far more than they listen. They pick up on subtle cues, the way you carry yourself, how you treat others when there's nothing to gain, how you respond when your ego is challenged. No matter how polished your words are, if your energy broadcasts insecurity or entitlement, it will show. It seeps through and can't be hidden. From here, we'll explore how a man truly builds inner strength to earn lasting trust and respect in his relationships. Building on the difference between demanding respect and truly embodying it, let's dive into another crucial aspect: self control and how to genuinely earn respect. Women don't respect men who seek to control others just to feel powerful. They respect men who have mastery over themselves, because that is real strength. Psychologically, this comes down to the difference between seeking external validation and having internal validation. Men who are always trying to prove something to others operate from external validation. They get trapped in performance, constantly reacting to how others perceive them instead of standing firm in who they really are. This energy is exhausting not only for themselves but also for those around them. It's unstable, like something is always about to erupt or collapse at any moment. But when a man is anchored in internal validation, everything changes. He's not looking for applause or approval. He doesn't bend over backwards to please or posture to intimidate. He simply shows up, present with himself, present with others, and present in a way that doesn't seek approval because his actions already align with his own standards. A man like that earns respect without uttering a single word. You see, true confidence isn't a show, it's a state of being. Women don't respond to bravado, they respond to congruence. When a man's words match how he lives, when his tone matches his energy, when his boundaries are clear but not aggressive, that's when respect naturally happens, not forced, not fake, but deeply felt. Philosophically, this is the difference between power and force. Force requires effort, it pushes and controls. But true power is effortless. It doesn't need to control others because it already governs itself. And women are drawn to that centeredness, not because they want to be controlled, but because it creates stability, safety, and certainty in a world that often lacks all three. Now, let's talk about boundaries, because this is one of the clearest signs of a man who commands respect. He doesn't tolerate disrespect, not because he's confrontational, but because he values himself enough not to entertain chaos. He doesn't need to explain himself over and over. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He simply removes himself from situations and people who don't meet his standards. And the silence of his absence says more than any argument ever could. This principle applies not only in romantic relations, but also in friendships, work, and family. A man who commands respect does so across every area of life because it's who he is, not something he performs. You can't compartmentalize character. Women watch closely. How do you treat the waiter? How do you respond when someone disagrees with you? How do you stand your ground without losing your grace? Those small moments, those micro decisions build a man's aura, and that aura either commands respect or drains it. Next, we'll explore more about building self mastery and how a man maintains positive energy in all circumstances. Building on the idea of earning respect through genuine self control and presence, let's now explore how to truly embody respect from within. So, if you want to be the kind of man that women deeply respect, the secret is simple: don't chase it, don't put on a show, Don't try to impress or posture. Instead, build respect from the inside out. Get clear on your values and live by them consistently. Own your choices fully. Set your boundaries quietly, firmly, without drama. And then let your presence speak volumes on its own. Because here's the truth: the loudest man in the room is rarely the one who's truly in control. Real authority doesn't need a stage or an audience. It radiates quietly from within. When you become that man who doesn't ask for respect but simply embodies it in every action and thought, you'll discover you don't have to convince anyone, the world and the women in it. It will naturally respond to the strength you already hold. Respect isn't something you demand or bargain for, it's something you become. At some point in every man's life, there's a moment to ask a tough question. Am I fully responsible for the life I'm living? Not just in theory or in ways that sound good when you explain them, but in practice, in the day to day, moment to moment choices you make. Here's a truth many avoid, especially in today's culture that loves to blame others. Nothing commands more respect than a man who owns his life, completely, without excuses, without theatrics, and without needing applause, just for doing what's necessary. Women don't respect perfection, they respect accountability. And that's a huge difference. A man who takes responsibility doesn't pretend to have all the answers. He simply says, I know what's mine to fix, and I'm not running from it. That kind of ownership is rare, and that rarity is magnetic. We live in a world where it's easier to point fingers at our past, our parents, our bosses, or exes than to look in the mirror and face the uncomfortable truth that some of our situation is the result of our own choices or our avoidance of those choices. But let me be clear: this isn't about self criticism or shame, it's about power. When you take responsibility for your life, you aren't just admitting faults, you're claiming agency. You step out of victimhood and become the author of your story. You stop reacting to life and start creating it, and women sense this instinctively. Psychologically, it signals emotional maturity and resilience. It shows that you're not waiting for someone else to fix things or for the stars to align. You are the alignment. As we move forward, we'll look deeper into how this inner ownership shapes a man's path and how it influences every relationship around him. Continuing from the idea of owning your life fully and embracing true responsibility, let's dive deeper into what that really means. You are the initiator, the one who says, I might not have chosen everything that's happened to me, but I am 100% responsible for what I do next. This mindset isn't just attractive, it's deeply trustworthy. Because when a man lives like this, he becomes dependable. He becomes consistent. Not because his life is perfect or everything always goes smoothly, but because he stays steady in how he handles the challenges and setbacks. That steadiness builds a kind of confidence that isn't flashy or loud, but it's unshakable. It sends a clear message to those around him, especially the women in his life, that they can count on him because he counts on himself first. And this is where many people get it wrong. Women don't want to fix a man. They don't want to babysit his potential or carry his weight. What they deeply respect is a man who is already doing the work, not someone who only talks about what he could become, but someone who is becoming that man right now through consistent action, effort, and personal responsibility. This shows up in the little things. Do you take care of your body, your finances, your commitments? Do you keep your word, not just to others, but to yourself? Do you hold yourself accountable and make corrections even when no one is watching? This is where real character is built, and that kind of private discipline shines through publicly. It speaks louder than any grand speech about goals or ambition ever could. Philosophically, it goes even deeper. Taking responsibility means accepting that the world doesn't owe you anything. Happiness, success, fulfillment, they aren't handed to you on a silver platter. You build them. And in that process of building, you become someone worth following, worth believing in, and worth respecting. That's why a man like this stands out. He's not waiting to be saved. He's not hoping to be discovered or handed a break. He's already in motion, already becoming the man his future demands. This initiative, born from responsibility, creates a magnetic gravity. It draws people in, it draws women in, not out of dependence, but out of genuine admiration. Because let's be honest, a man who blames is everywhere. But a man who owns his life quietly, consistently, and relentlessly, That man is rare, and rarity commands respect. So, if you're wondering what kind of man women truly respect, it's not the one who's flawless, smooth, or wildly successful. It's the one who stands firm and says, "This is my life. I'm not outsourcing it to anyone." The one who shows up even when it's hard, lonely, or no one applauds. Because at the end of the day, responsibility isn't just a burden, it's your becoming. And when you carry it well, you don't need to convince anyone of your value. As we move forward, we'll explore how this sense of responsibility shapes not only your relationships, but also the legacy you leave behind.